Well, hi and welcome to the second part of the 2020 Q&A, or my 2020 Q&A. Thank you very much for watching, and thanks if you watched the first part as well, much appreciated. And again, thank you for your questions. Don't forget that if you comment on this, you've got a chance of winning this vlog pocket here. I have to work out how I'm going to get it sent to you, obviously, because we're shielding, but we'll work out a way. So don't forget to comment if you want a chance of winning that. Also, don't forget that the podcast is going on its own channel from this week. So if you don't know about the podcast, then it's like a YouTube podcast, if you like, where there's 6 of us just having a chat down a virtual pub talking about photography and, well, actually just lots and lots of other very random things as well. So I'll put a link to the new channel that's going on so you don't miss it. But yeah, that's going to be on its own channel from now on. I think I'm going to start uploading all the old episodes on Wednesday, and then a new one will be out on Saturday. Anyway, also, a couple of you asked questions in the comments from last week's Q&A, and I'll try and fit them in at the end. But yeah, so here's the second part anyway. Here you go. Here's one from James, my good friend James Burns. He says, when this lockdown is over or less restricted, will your first photo outing be local or further afield? I reckon, for me, that I think that in the situation that I'm in, I think the lockdown's going to be coming out of the lockdown's going to be a slower process maybe than other people, maybe more graduated. So I would imagine that my first trip out will be somewhere very local. Very, very local, just up the road with a camera possibly. But then I'm itching to get further afield as well. So as soon as it's absolutely safe to do so, I will then be heading out further afield as well. But yeah, definitely local first, and maybe even local for some time before I get to go out anywhere substantial. Right. Okay, got another question now from Mikey McManus. Now, if you don't watch Mikey McManus's channel, you really need to check him out. Brilliant filmmaker, very funny, and doing lots of very different things at the moment from everyone else, which is good because it all seems to be macro photography and pubcasts at the moment. So, he's doing something very different. So go check out his channel if you get the chance. And he says, what is something that's really popular now, but in 5 years everyone will look back on and be embarrassed by? Wow, that is a question, isn't it? God, I don't know. Those twirly bloody pictures, I'd imagine. The twirls that everyone and their mother seems to be doing. I haven't done one. I've been tempted, I'm not going to lie. But I'd imagine everyone's going to look back and go, oh God, what was that? In terms of trends, I don't know. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of us are zooming at the moment and recording that. So maybe that'll be something that once lockdown's over, we'll sort of go, oh, I'm not sure why we did that. But actually saying that, I really enjoy doing that, and I think that's given a lot of enjoyment to a lot of other people. There's plenty of other versions of that about as well, and they're I think people are enjoying those. So there's always fads that come and go, aren't there? But I'm just trying, I don't know. Well, I tell you what, right? Because you've got me stumped here, mate. So what do you think? Why don't you write back in the comments and let me know what you think is really popular now, but in 5 years' time everyone will look back on and be embarrassed by? Because I don't know. I really don't know. Probably vlogging. Probably in 5 years' time there'll be a huge swathe of ex-landscape photography vloggers who go, why did I do that for? I don't know. But yeah, why don't you answer me on that one? You can give me an answer because you stumped me, mate. Okay, here's one from Steve Mozzie. It's actually Steve Frith. Hi Steve, hope you're doing well, mate. Always appreciate your support and your comments, so thank you very much. He says, is there any gear that you'd like to add to your collection at the moment? Well, funny you should say that. Yes, there is. Right now, I'd really like to add a Sigma 150 to 600 lens, because I've managed to get hold of this 150 to 600 mil lens on a really good, and I might be possibly arranging that on a short-term basis, so that's quite nice. But in terms of in general, I don't know, maybe a Canon EOS R5 and all the lenses that go with it, you know, if I win the lottery. Probably a camera that doesn't overexpose everything at the moment, because my 5D is playing up. I quite like my setup, really. I've been doing a bit of bird photography. Well, I haven't actually been doing a bit of bird photography. I've been setting up hopefully for some birds to turn up and do a bit of bird photography. And if that takes off for me, then I'll probably need a camera that's more suited to that, and a lens that's more suited to that. So, you know, something like maybe, I mean, I would have no issues going and buying an old secondhand 7D with a crop sensor, or a 70D or an 80D, you know, and then a lens that's capable of taking shots of, you know, birds from a distance. So like I said, a Sigma 150 to 600, something like that. But I'm happy with, in terms of like, would I upgrade? Of course, if I had the opportunity and I had the money, I would upgrade all of my system. But am I unhappy with what I've got? No. I like my 5D Mark III. I love my 24 to 70 lens. I love my 70 to 200 lens. So I've had wider angle lenses and never really got on with them. So in terms of landscape, I mean, I love my Sony A6000 for street. I love the lens I got for that. I'm not, you know, I'm not acquisitive in that respect. I'm quite happy. Obviously, if money was no object, then yeah, I'd probably upgrade. But yeah, no, there you go. I think that's answered your question. Not sure. Possibly. Oh, hello. Talking about site supporters, here's another one, another good friend, someone that I chat to most days, actually, or lots of days recently. Alan Coles. Hello, Alan. Hope you're well, mate. He's asking me two questions. So question one is, you came last in the beer section comp. This is referring to the pubcast. A couple of weeks ago I came last with my beer. Should I encourage Darren to start drinking Carlsberg again? Because Darren got on the Guinness, and then suddenly he was like a messiah, and everyone, you know, oh, Guinness, great drink. So yeah, I'm definitely, Darren, if you're watching this, get back on the Carlsberg, mate, or, you know, or even better, buy yourself a Heineken or two. That'd be great. You know, because look, you know, I'm sick of coming last, really, to be honest with you, mate. It's pretty unfair. So yeah, sort it out. And question two is, what is the best waterfall location you've been to? Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, so it depends how you define waterfall. If you're talking about cascades, then definitely Wyming Brook is amazing. But also the place I went to at, I think it was Ganwyd in Wales, that was amazing. The Black Falls, I'm not going to try and pronounce it in Welsh. The Black Falls, that they were fantastic. The fall itself was brilliant to look at, hard to take a photo of, but all the cascades coming down were amazing, really amazing. So if you're talking in terms of cascades, then definitely those two places. If you're talking in terms of just the sheer waterfall, that's tough, because there's quite a few that I've really enjoyed going to. I love the Ogwen Falls. Scalaba Falls was amazing. The one in the Waterfalls Walk in Wales, which I'm not going to try and pronounce again, was amazing. Crikey. Yeah. Lumsdale Falls are pretty good. I think in terms of just just because when I was there, it was autumn and the beautiful orange leaves, and everything seemed to just be perfect, and there was just the right amount of water coming over. I'd say Excalibur Force was an amazing waterfall to go to. But in terms of, if you're talking cascades, then Wyoming Brook or the falls that there's cascades that are below the Black Waterfall, Black Falls in Wales, Gangwyd, those two are fantastic as well. I hope that answers your question with about 5 different locations. So I've got a question here from City Street, and the question is, if you could take your camera with you back in time, who or what would you like to photograph and why? That's a tough one as well. I think I've mentioned this before on the last Q&A, and I think I'd like to go back maybe to sort of 60s London, that really stylish sort of, scene. Maybe sort of late 60s, early 70s, sort of San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles, the whole sort of Woodstock era, that sort of, peace and love. And I'd imagine that would be a fantastic time and a fantastic subject to capture. Maybe just go back like a few thousand years and maybe try and take some photographs of places that are really popular now, and just to see what they look like back then. So like maybe some of the honeypot locations in maybe go back 500,000 years and try and take photos of the fairy pools and see what they actually were back then. I know it sounds stupid, but that sort of thing. Maybe just go and in fact, I wouldn't mind going back a couple of years and taking a photo of a tree that used to be around the corner from me that got blown over in the wind. I used to drive past the tree every day and think I must take a photo of that. And I did get a photo of it, but really handheld, overexposed. Oversaturated. Not a very good photo, but maybe if I could go back with the gear I've got now and the ability I've got now and reshoot that might be quite nice. Because I did used to drive past that tree every day on the way to work and think, I must get a shot of that. And I did get a shot of it, but yeah, I'd love to have got a really nice shot of that tree before it got blown over in a storm. Yeah, so there you go. So I've got a question here from Daniel Bennett. Hope you're doing well, Dan, mate. We were due to meet up and we never got around to it, so that was my fault actually. We were going to meet up in Peterborough, I think, and I never quite managed to arrange it, so I'm very sorry about that. We must meet up though. He seems like a really nice guy. Plus, hospital porter, a lot of respect for you as well for that. So, but Daniel's question is, if you can only choose one, street photography or landscape photography, to do for a whole year, what would you pick? Well, last time I was on the Q&A, I said at a real push it'd be street. This time round, I'm going to say landscape, and I think that's simply because we've been kept in for such a long amount of time, and we're going to be kept in for an even considerably longer amount of time. So when I do finally get back out, I think I'm going to be all about the landscape because I've really missed that. So yeah, if I can only do one of those two for a year, definitely landscape this time round. Change my answer from last time. Okay, so the next question is from Andrew Walton. I'll be honest with you, I've answered this question about 7 times already, and every time I've started to answer, it's gone down a route that I really shouldn't be taking it down. So I'll try again with the censored version. He says, if you're starting YouTube from scratch in 2020, would you do everything the same? What would you do sooner, and what would you leave out? So the safe version of this answer is, if I was starting again in 2020, I'd choose my words more wisely, and I'd probably choose some of my friends in the community more wisely. I'm not talking about people I'm friends with now. I'm talking about I'd probably leave out my opinions. I know it would. I think it would lessen my channel. I think it would lessen my authenticity. But I've upset people, quite a lot of people, with my opinions. So I would probably just have gone back and started again and just been a pure photography channel. So here's me going on my landscape trips and here's me going on my street trips. You know, this is why I started the channel in the first place, to share my passion and to document my experiences and to give myself a motivation to go out, really. That's why I started it in the first place. And then somewhere along the way, you know, I decided to introduce my personality, which, you know, doesn't always go down that well with people, because I'm not probably the easiest person in the world for some people to like. So yeah, I probably would just purely focus on that. What would I do sooner? I would certainly learn the skills of videography and editing sooner. I feel like the last year I've really ramped up my ability in terms of videography and editing, and you know, the more you do it, the more you realise that you really need to try and produce a story. So yeah, I'd learn that sooner and try and put that into practice a bit quicker. I probably I say that I would probably maybe, it's a difficult one. I don't want to go down the road, so I'm trying really hard to answer this in a way that isn't going to piss a load of people off. So yeah, that's what I would do. What would I leave out? Leave out my opinions. I probably wouldn't, actually. I'll probably do everything exactly the same, because what's the bloody point? What's the point of doing... I would definitely learn videography sooner. I would definitely invest in some good vlogging gear when you start out. Just be yourself. Be yourself, you know. That's what you got to do. I probably would still do everything exactly the same as I've done. There are probably certain things that I regret. There's certain things that I probably shouldn't have said, or shouldn't have said them in the way that I said them. But I don't. There's not one thing that I said while doing this that I think was wrong, or I disagree with even now. I just think maybe I was wrong in sometimes. Sometimes the delivery of the message is a bit, rather than the message being wrong, it's the delivery that could use a bit of finessing, I guess. But yeah, that's the answer. That's the safe answer. So I also had some questions on Instagram. I posted up a story asking for questions, and I got two here from Duffers 102. One saying, I've never been to London for photography purposes. Which part of the capital would you advise I visit? I love buildings and architecture. Well, London's a great place all round, really, for architecture, but probably the area around St Paul's, the area around sort of the city, the South Bank, all round there is fantastic. You know, Piccadilly Circus, Covent Garden, you know, fantastic architecture all round there. You can't really go wrong. But I guess whenever I go to London, I always seem to gravitate to St Paul's or South Bank. So that's where I'd start. I'd start there. Move on. I mean, there's so much there. You know, you've got the Millennium Bridge, you've got St Paul's Cathedral. You know, you could pop into a Tate Modern. You've got, you know, pop down the road. You've got the pop down the river. You've got Tower Bridge. You've got the Houses of Parliament. You've got all of the you know, the city with the the Shard and the Gherkin and all of that. Oh, around there definitely. I would say start there, and then expand out. And then he also asks, which location have you been most disappointed in, but you'd like to revisit because it has potential? Well, the location is definitely not a disappointing location, but I was very disappointed when I went there. Well, actually, wasn't disappointed there, but I was disappointed with the results I got from it. And that's Corfe Castle. I'd love to go back to Corfe Castle and have another go, and maybe just make better use of what's there. I think that I didn't get the shots right. I didn't get the shots right technically, and so that made the editing very difficult. And it resulted in some very strangely processed images, if you like. And it was one of the few vlogs actually that I've put out there where the images have been criticised, and rightly so. They don't look great at all. And that's something that disappoints me. So yeah, I'd probably like to go back to Corfe Castle and Durdle Door in fact, but mainly Corfe Castle, and try and get some better shots from there, because it's definitely a way better place than my shots showed it. So we've got another one here from Trevor Finlay. Hi Trevor, hope you're well. Another vlogger. Go check him out. I'll put a link somewhere for you. He says, what has been your most challenging vlog? Oh God, probably the most recent one from Wales, where my camera got a drenching and stopped working. That was just in terms of the conditions. That was a horrible day, a horrible day, and it was windy and wet, and trying to get a shot was virtually impossible. It was very difficult conditions on that day. There was another day at Lumhole Falls, which was similar, but I did get some decent shots, but that was treacherous, heading down to there, and that was a difficult day because the weather was so poor as well. Obviously you could say Three Shires Head was a challenging vlog, simply because of the number of people there, and the way that I handled it wasn't great. But yeah, I'd probably say that the Barmouth vlog in Wales was my most challenging in terms of the actual conditions, because it wasn't a great day. So I've got a question from Mike Goodwin. Hi Mike, love Mike, great guy. And he says, do I have any other hobbies other than photography? Well, yes, I do. I love playing cricket. Well, I'd like to play cricket at the moment. I'd like to have the opportunity to go out and play cricket. I love playing cricket. I'm also I've just started doing it again, a bit of a modeler, if you like, not a model. I use Cinema 4D. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. It's like a motion graphics and sort of a 3D modeling program. And before I took up photography in the sort of amount that I do now, I used to cycle between 3 or 4 different hobbies, and it was generally, so cricket's a constant, and that's the summer game. So I used to play football a lot, but my knees went about 10 years ago, so I can't do that anymore. But yeah, I used to cycle between sort of 3 different hobbies, and they were Cinema 4D, photography, and golf course design for a game called Perfect Parallel. Jack Nicklaus. Perfect Golf. It was called. Sorry, it's called Perfect Golf. Jack Nicklaus Perfect Golf, and I used to design golf courses for that. And I did get quite good at that at one point, and I was sort of, I used to talk to the developers and was quite sort of well known in the community for making golf courses. But I haven't done that now for years because the photography's just taken over. I still play about with Cinema 4D every now and again. I've literally just done a bit of artwork for the pubcast on it, which I really enjoy doing. But yeah, I guess those are my other hobbies. But really, photography's taken over everything now, other than cricket. But I can't get out and play it. I'm not going to play cricket at all this summer, which is really disappointing. Although the way I've been playing, probably my teammates will be happy. What else have we got? And this is the last question you'll be pleased to hear. And this is from Scott Hughes, another good friend. So hi Scott, hope you're well. He said, if money was no object, what would be your dream setup? E.g. body, lenses, accessories. So I think we sort of covered this earlier, but I think I'd really like to get my hands on the EOS R5 and I'd like to have that, and then I'd like to have a 16-35mm lens, L lens, 24-70 L lens, 70-200 L lens, and then maybe the 150-600 Sigma. Well, let's just say let's go for the sport version because it's more expensive. And yeah, I'd really like to have that set up. There was a point actually where I wanted to go over to Sony A7R3 and the lenses on that, and that's another system that's fantastic. Sony, I really got a lot of time for Sony cameras. So yeah, if I didn't have quite as much for the EOS R5, I might go for the Sony A7R4, I think it is now, and a similar setup in terms of lenses. I'd like a camper van as well, so that'd be quite nice. If money were no object, I wouldn't mind a camper van so I could go touring with all my gear. I'm not really a massive follower in terms of like the other type of gear, like tripods and that sort of stuff, your peripherals. I'm not, just a good sturdy tripod with a good tripod head is fine for me. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a really good gimbal, like one of those really big sort of bulky ones that you could put a DSLR on. I wouldn't mind an electronic slider, just some fancy stuff, and maybe a Mavic Air Pro drone, just some stuff to really, really up my vlogging game. Maybe a nice vlogging camera as well, like an M50 or something like that, perhaps as well. But yeah, but then you got to carry it all around with you, haven't you? So it swings and roundabouts really. But yeah, hope that answered your question, Scott. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that if you asked a question, I answered it in a suitable or satisfactory manner. Obviously, Mikey McManus, I do apologise. I didn't really answer your question at all, but that was a good question. It really made me think, and you had me stumped. So what can I say? There were a couple of other questions. I've got one here from Stain Photography, Steve Stain, and he said, if I could live anywhere in the UK for my photography, where would it be and why? I'd probably try and live, this sounds a bit weird, because you're probably expecting the answer might be Snowdonia or the Lake District or maybe up in Scotland somewhere, but I think I'd like to, if it were purely for photography, I'd probably like to live somewhere in sort of central England, so maybe somewhere like in the Manchester area, perhaps, something like that, because you living there, you're so close to lots of different places, so you're not that far from the Lake District. It's not that much of a drive to Snowdonia. You're just round the corner from the Peak District. You're not far from the Yorkshire Dales. You've got good street photography, Manchester, Liverpool, Sheffield's not far away. You've got quite a lot of opportunity, and then it isn't that far to get to Scotland, and it isn't that far to get to the south coast. Whereas where I live, it's 3 hours from Manchester, which is not too bad, but then it's 5 hours to the Lake District, 11 hours to Skye, 5.5 hours to Snowdonia, so probably for photography, for actual what am I trying, like, for sensible reasons, if you like, rather than for practical reasons. That's the word I was grasping for practical reasons, rather than actually the aesthetics of the area. I'd probably live somewhere in sort of Manchester, Greater Manchester, something like that, because I think that's probably got the best reach to get to lots of different places quite easily. And then I had a question from Collie Photography, and he said, if I could do a collaboration with anyone, who would it be and where would it be? I don't really have any real desire, like burning desire, to collaborate with anyone in particular. I'm certainly not I'm certainly not looking to collaborate with someone for any other reason than I'd like to meet them. So probably there's quite a few guys that I watch on YouTube, yourself included, actually, mate. And some of the smaller channels, I wouldn't mind just going and meeting them and saying hello and doing a quick collab with them. I'm not really, I've got no desire, if you like, to do a Thomas Heaton or a Adam Carnatz or a Nigel Danson. I've got no desire to go and meet people just for the sake of meeting someone because they're big on YouTube. It's more, I'd like to meet people for their personality. So actually, I'd probably rather, I've met loads of people that I really like and really get on with through this community and through this hobby, and I'd like that to continue. Really, I'd like to sort of carry on and meet people who I could call friends, rather than someone just for an opportunity to go along with them, if that makes sense. So there is no one anywhere really. I'd love to meet someone up in Scotland. Actually, I wouldn't mind doing a collab with someone up in Scotland, and maybe use them a little bit so they can give me some local knowledge, or come with me, either way, we could explore together, but something like that. So nothing, I have no real strong desire to really meet anyone in particular. Just everyone and anyone, get in touch. Anyway, thanks ever so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Look out next week for my the start of my bird photography, my garden bird photography. Look, I'm not gonna lie, Darren Knight, if you haven't watched his, I'll put a link up to his. He inspired me to do this. He's absolutely fantastic video. I know he's a friend. I know that he's I do the podcast with him, but even if I didn't do the podcast with him, and even if I didn't even know him, I would still say watch his video on birds, or his series now on birds, because they're absolutely fantastic. And he absolutely inspired me, to even sort of sort my garden out a bit and make it a more habitable place for some of our feathered friends. So check that out next week. And thanks ever so much for watching. Remember, if you comment this week, then you'll be in the chance with a chance of winning the Vlog Pocket, if that's something you want. And until next time, until next week, or until the podcast, I'll see you again soon.